The Percy Jackson show is something that constantly gets a lot of mixed comments about, at least from everything that I see, and one of the most interesting ones is in regards to the relationship between the two main characters, Percy Jackson and Annabeth Chase. Now, if you want to watch the show and future seasons with absolutely zero knowledge, knowing nothing on the internet about what's going to happen in the show or the story, this is your spoiler warning. I will be spoiling Percy and Annabeth's relationship a bit. If Percabeth is the only thing that you know about the series, that is that Percy and Annabeth end up together and a romantic couple, that's the only thing I will be spoiling and talking about that isn't already in the show. Now, the real thing that I want to talk about is the idea that Percy and Annabeth's relationship is moving too fast, and that they are being more romantic earlier in the show than they should be in compared to the book series. And with that said, I want to talk about the progression of Percy and Annabeth's relationship in the show. I will not be bringing up the book and reading excerpts from the book. I want to talk about the show. And in Season 1, Percy and Annabeth don't get off on the right foot, as Annabeth uses him as bait during Capture the Flag, but this strategy of hers is what makes Percy choose her for his quest. He wants to be with someone who will put the quest, retrieving the Master Vault, and Percy's objective, saving Sally, above him, and he knows that she is capable of that. I believe that their relationship takes a turning point at the St. Louis Arch, where after a strong talking to from Grover in the last episode, the two seem to mellow out and hold a lot less judgment towards each other. With Percy trying his best to make Annabeth laugh and apologizing for his comments about Athena, Annabeth starts opening up to him for the first time, and even trying to offer a connection between Percy and his father, Poseidon. And this is where Percy realizes that Annabeth has done more for him than Poseidon ever has, and that if he had to choose who to stand next to, he would choose Annabeth. Percy is a very loyal person, willing to act out for others. He pushes Nancy into Fallon only when she bullies Grover, and when he's angry at his father for ignoring his mother, but not himself. To him, his friends are the most important thing in the world, and this is our first example of this extending towards Annabeth. With Percy poisoned, Annabeth is willing to put her pride aside and to ask her mother for help on their quest, which is not something that she does lightly. When the trio realize that Athena won't offer her help, Annabeth decides to fight the Chimera to allow Percy and Grover to escape and to continue the quest, but Percy switches places with her, putting his life on the line to allow his friends to live. After this, they become real friends, with Annabeth hugging him after they realize that he lived his encounter with the Chimera, and Percy wanting to talk to Annabeth about movies. The Tunnel of Love scene is, I think, the first instance of Percy being wholly unique in regards to the gods, with him realizing why his mom kept him away from his demigod side, not liking the brutal and petty nature of the gods. Annabeth here grounds him by suggesting that his mom kept him away from all of this so that he could be different, so that he could be better than it.
He isn't that way. He's better than that. Maybe I was that way once, but I don't want to be that way anymore. I won't be like all of you. I just won't.
We see Percy's influence spreading onto his friends, as during their trip to the underworld, the three, yes, also including Grover, all take turns offering up their lives to stay in the underworld. Notably with Annabeth, she mentions trusting in Poseidon to help out on their quest, which is the first time that she plans in the gods helping, rather than pleading with them when they show up. Right before Percy goes off to Olympus, which is what Annabeth and Grover believe to be a suicide mission, Annabeth gives Percy her camp necklace. The show, I don't believe, really touches upon the importance of the necklaces, so I want to add my own context from the books. And this will be the only time I do this. At Camp Half-Blood, after each summer, each camper puts a bead on their necklace. And so, the people who have the most beads have been at Camp Half-Blood the longest, they have survived the longest, they have lived the longest going to Camp Half-Blood. So, Annabeth giving Percy her necklace is her giving him her own proof of survival against all odds, so that Percy has some luck at surviving his encounter with Zeus. And then we get two bugs. One, just Percabeth, but they're also relaying important information, and one with the Celestial Trio. Both sweet, not much to analyze. Moving on to Season 2. At the start of Season 2, Tyson didn't even know Grover's name enough to get it right, yet he instantly knew Annabeth as the girl in the photo of Percy's the second that she shows up in person. So not only has Percy talked about Annabeth more that the name would stick in Tyson's mind better than Grover's has, he also stared at the picture long enough that Tyson took note of it to recognize her. I love how their friendship is split, with Percy trying to focus more on the human side and Annabeth on the godly side. Percy wants to hear about Annabeth's trip to Space Mountain and her experiences about school, and the stuff that she largely left out of the letters that she wrote. While Annabeth points out that Percy left Tyson the Cyclops, out of his letters, telling us that Percy mostly wrote about his own day-to-day stuff. We see this expanded at the very end of episode 2, after Percy finds out that Annabeth's lying to him and is keeping a secret that was told to her from Chiron. He says that he hates the secrets and that he thought he was done with all of that, and he brings up the letters that she wrote over the school year, to which she finally admits that she hated doing everything that Percy wanted her to experience. She has been living on survival mode for so long that she's bored with all the mundane human things. And Percy takes her opening up about this as a show of trust, so he begins to trust her about the secret that Chiron had told her. He doesn't understand it, or why she can't tell him, but he trusts her and her judgment enough that he's okay with not knowing. After an encounter with Luke, Annabeth begins to doubt the prophecy that Chiron had told her, and believes that Percy should know his own fate. And I really like that it's this run-in with Luke that pushes Annabeth to tell Percy, and not Percy himself. Firstly, because I believe Percy trusts Annabeth enough too much to not harp on her about it, and secondly, Luke is constantly causing friction between the two, with Annabeth seeing the good in him because of their shared hardships, and Percy seeing the bad in him because of how he betrayed and hurt his friends. Luke, once again, is put in the middle of the two of them, changing the way Annabeth acts and putting Percy in an uncomfortable situation, as he wishes that he hadn't been told about the short end of the prophecy. Season 2, Episode 5 is a heavy one for Percy. After learning about his role in the prophecy, and after Clarice's ship got torn apart, he believes only he and Annabeth had survived. Percy at this point is grappling with the feeling of losing Tyson, which means that he broke his promise with his mom to protect him, that he lost Clarice, and he no longer believes that he can rescue Grover. Right now, Annabeth is the only person that he has. After his evaluation with Cersei, we learn that Percy's fatal flaw is his loyalty, that he has this need to put his friends before everything else, willing to put them before a quest, himself, and maybe even the world. This throws Percy off, as now he understands what might drive him to bring down Olympus, like in the prophecy.
I see it now. Tyson is dead. Grover is lost. So if I had to choose between saving you or saving Olympus, Annabeth, I burn it all down.
I believe a lot of this conversation is being looked at through the lens of how strong it makes Percabeth's relationship later on, with people reading this as having a semi-romantic meaning due to the knowledge the two ultimately end up together. Don't get me wrong, I do love it in that context too, but I believe its purpose right here, right now, is showing the audience how scared Percy is of this realization. Having to come to terms with how far he would truly go to protect the people that he cares about. I don't believe he, Percy, means this with any sort of romantic undertones. I believe that Percy believes he would take such a drastic measure, burning down Olympus, for any of his friends if they were here with him right now. Percy, at this moment, still believes Tyson and Clarice are dead and that Grover is lost for good, and he knows the camp will be under attack with Kronos returning. And while he's on this island, he can't do anything to help. He's frustrated and scared, and Annabeth is the only other person with him, and he would do anything he possibly could to protect that person. In fact, Percy was already doing something similar when he set out to rescue Grover. He wanted to leave Tyson at camp so that he would be safe, and he knew that Annabeth was focused on getting the fleece with Clarice, so he was willing to leave camp, while Tantalus put a hit out on anyone leaving camp grounds to make sure someone had Grover as his top priority. He was, right there, putting his friends above the quest. That's what he does. We see him make the same choice again when he's trapped in Polyphemus' cave, fighting with Clarice to give the fleece over to Luke so that he can use it to heal an injured Annabeth. In his mind, making sure Annabeth lives is his top priority, fleece be damned. And we see the same argument again in the following episode as the crew boards the Andromeda, with Percy wanting a plan on rescuing Annabeth first, while Clarice thinks of it as a risk and wants to go straight for the fleece that is now in Luke's custody. This isn't to say Percy can't be pragmatic. He's not an idiot. Once he frees Annabeth's hands and has to hide again as Luke comes to check on her, he does take Annabeth's device to go search for the fleece rather than staying by her side every step of the way. For Percy, it's not about being glued together or that he can't see the bigger picture. It's that he wants to make sure his friends are safe first. He would not have been able to focus on the fleece like he does if he had not checked in on Annabeth. And I believe this level of trust in Annabeth shakes her a little bit, confused each time it comes up, with trusting her about the prophecy, with trusting her decision to enter the Sea of Monsters, with him telling her he knew how special she was after 2 days. Getting into Annabeth's fatal flaw, hubris or pride, we see it on Cease's Island with how she reacted to learning about the therapy sessions. The faces she makes every time the host writes something down. She feels like she's above it and better than this very weird system. Contrast it with Percy, who, although doesn't really buy into it, placates it, asking Cece about Stravos' fatal flaw and trying to reflect on his own, whereas Annabeth brushes past hers, and how she believes that she can outsmart the sirens, that she could keep herself grounded on her own. This is then in contrast to Percy, as he's only able to ground himself because he had Annabeth to fully focus on. I really like the growth that Percy has shown from the jump from season 1 to 2, with him being the one to explain to Tyson the importance of Thalia's sacrifice, which is in contrast to his mocking of it at the start of the previous season. I also really like Percy and Annabeth's talk near the end of season 2, episode 1, outside of Poseidon's cabin, with Annabeth going to rely on Percy while he's already trying to be present for Tyson and asking Annabeth to give him a few minutes. He knows they both want to talk to him, but he's currently in the middle of talking with Tyson and would feel guilty for just leaving him in the middle of it. This same level of growth is shown from Annabeth, with her expressly asking about the drachma situation and saying that this is her trying to reach out right now. And it takes a level of maturity and trust to ask for help in the way that she did. I love seeing these characters grow together and becoming more trusting and understanding of one another. And I'm really excited to see how it goes in season 3 now that Thalia is back. Also, in 3 years when season 5 comes out, expect a video about the line Human Choices.